This is Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio. Inside the News. Let's go back to Guy, Ben, and Frank.
Welcome back to Inside the News. And I don't know if we call it the election trail segment anymore, maybe more domestic in nature. Ben Brunson, bottom middle, and Frank Vernuccio, top left. Welcome back, Ben.
Well, thank you, Guy. It's a pleasure to be back.
All right. And Frank, now let's go back to our previous discussion, and we're going to finish up the SCOTUS discussion right now. Ben had mentioned that there are 9 justices on the court, and it's a good thing that Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed to be probably one of the greatest appointments that in Trump's presidency. And now there's going to be a 5 and 4.
But you know, we got to go back to Ben's original question, which was, you know, what can the court actually do? The question that he asked during our weekly discussion. What can the court actually do? The court can, of course, issue any remedy it sees fit. The attorneys who have experience on both sides of the political aisle who I've spoken to believe the court has that ability, with one exception. The one thing the court has going against us is time. And it is inconceivable, according to all the experts I spoke with, that after Joe Biden takes the oath of office, that a ruling from the Supreme Court would somehow take him out of office and reinsert Donald Trump. So what is against the Republicans at this point is the element of time. And President Trump, in his recent interview with Maria Bartiromo, actually alluded to that. The president said the facts are on our side. The law is on our side. The reality is on our side. What's not on our side is timing. After Joe Biden takes the oath of office, if he takes the oath of office, it is unlikely and nigh on impossible that the Supreme Court would drag him out of the White House and reinsert Donald Trump. So all of this has to be done before January 20th, and that is the problem. The one experience that people who go to court have that leaves them more frustrated than anything else is the interminable delays that can come in. And while I think the 5 more conservative members of the Supreme Court would clearly rule that this was, for many reasons, a biased election, an election that did not follow the law, if it can get to the Supreme Court before January 20th and be determined before January 20th, that's the fly in the ointment that we're all facing.
Would that be a stay? Could they actually do a stay, like a stay of execution, a stay of the inauguration by the president, SCOTUS? I mean, that's interesting. That's an interesting question, isn't it, Ben?
Wow.
Well, it's a great question. I suspect that if they could, they would definitely not do that just because of the
Wait. We had a great solution here, Ben. All of a sudden you say we can't do that.
Well, I think we're all hitting on the issue that is relevant here, which is time. The justices, I completely agree with the president's assessment. The justices have the law on their side. The facts are now becoming better and better known, and frankly, quite overwhelming as to what occurred in this election, how fraudulent it was. The election should be deemed essentially null and void at this point. And this should be kicked to the House of Representatives. We have a constitutional remedy for this situation. But if the electors meet on December 14th and Joe Biden has 270 or more votes, then the situation, I think, becomes irredeemable for the president, that Joe Biden will then be confirmed as the president-elect of the United States. So I think effectively we have the next 2 weeks to see if the Supreme Court and the state legislatures working together or separately can effectively keep Joe Biden from being confirmed in the Electoral College. And if that happens, it does go to the House of Representatives, where presumably Donald Trump would be reelected.
Okay, now let's put that question on then the Electoral College then, Frank, of what I was just saying. Could the SCOTUS then say no to the Electoral College. You cannot vote on December 14th, and we're going to put a stay on that and delay that a few weeks.
It's an interesting thought. I'm not sure whether that's practical in the sense that this is a state-by-state process. It's not necessarily a federal process. So I think the court would have to somehow find a remedy to tell each state that their own laws have been violated and somehow get into state court. There is another interesting potential in all of this that could supersede the element of timing. It will not take Biden out of the White House, but it would certainly cast a pall over his presidency. And that is, I am wondering whether lawyers for Donald Trump's campaign have considered the possibility of a civil suit against Dominion, against the state courts, the state electors, the state legislatures, that they were defrauded out of this result. Now, they would sue for damages. They could not sue to have the election overturned, but they could sue for damages. If that occurred and it was found in favor of the Trump campaign for damages against the Biden campaign or against Dominion Software or anyone else, you would have a fascinating case where a court would have ruled that the election was fraudulent, damages would be awarded to the Trump campaign, but Biden would still be in the White House.
Would that then, it would not be an impeachable offense against Biden, but would there be some kind of remedy upon something like that even, Ben, that could be quite interesting?
Well, look, on the impeachment issue, we learned just less than a year ago that you can impeach for anything and nothing at all, because that's exactly what the Dems did. They filed articles of impeachment for nothing at all, and it was roundly rejected by the Senate. So again, could you impeach Biden over this? I think you could. You have to have a House willing to do it, which doesn't exist because the House remains Democrat, and you'd have to have 2/3 vote in the Senate to convict. So that's not going to happen. But it's an interesting case. One practical outcome of the path that Frank just laid out could be that the voting systems being used in a majority of states right now, Dominion Software, could come under the control, if you will, based on a large judgment against them of Donald Trump, which could lead to a cleanup of this whole situation. So it might be one pathway to at least have future elections which are real and legitimate going forward, which I hope and pray most Americans on a bipartisan basis want to see happen.
Can you imagine when he says cleaning up the swamp, and then what he does is clean up Dominion and Smartmatic and Sequoia and all of those companies, that would be the ultimate swamp cleaning up, because then that would ensure clean elections. Oh my goodness, the ramifications are huge. We're going to talk about COVID coming up. You talk about huge. It's going across the country. Be back.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.